The hall was built to make visitors feel small. It stretched wider than any human city square, and rose so high that clouds were formed by its own climate systems. Light from distant stars filtered through a transparent dome, bending into soft colors as it passed through alien technology. Thousands of beings sat in curved tiers that circled the central floor. Some floated, some perched on stone. Some stood with weapons openly displayed, as if peace were only a temporary agreement. This was the Galactic Assembly Hall, where first impressions decided the fate of entire species. Humanity had been invited only recently, not as equals, not yet. They were listed as a developing civilization with unusual adaptability. That phrase sounded polite, but everyone knew what it meant: weak, short-lived. New. The human delegation was small. Only 3 representatives sat in their assigned section, far from the central speakers. 2 were diplomats. 1 was a soldier. Commander Elias Rowan sat quietly, hands folded, back straight. His uniform was clean and plain, with no medals on display. No glowing rank symbols. No ceremonial armor. Compared to the armored giants and radiant beings around him, he looked almost fragile. That was fine with him. He had learned long ago that looking harmless often kept you alive longer. Across the hall, standing near the central platform, was Valorix of the Crimson Den. The Vulpine warlord was impossible to miss. His tall, fox-like body was covered in layered red and black armor, etched with glowing lines that told stories of conquest. His multiple tails were bound with metal rings, each engraved with kill marks. His sharp ears twitched constantly, catching whispers from across the hall. Valorix was smiling. He enjoyed moments like this. New species always did the same thing. They tried to sound confident. They tried to look important. And eventually, they embarrassed themselves. The assembly session had begun calmly enough. Representatives spoke about trade routes, border disputes, and old treaties. Then, the topic shifted, as it always did when a new species was present. Military capability. Valorix leaned forward, claws resting on the edge of the platform. "Honored assembly," he said, his voice smooth and sharp at the same time.
We are discussing defense contributions. It would be irresponsible not to address the
humans. A low murmur spread through the hall.
Many eyes turned toward the human section. Varix's gaze locked on to Elias. "I am curious," the Vulpine continued. "This species rose quickly in a hostile region of space, yet their bodies are soft. Their lives are brief. Their technology, while clever, lacks refinement." His smile widened. "So tell me, what makes them worthy of concern?" One of the human diplomats shifted, preparing to respond.
Elias did not move.
Valorix tilted his head, ears angling forward. Perhaps a demonstration of experience? He raised his voice slightly. "Human soldier, stand!" Every instinct in Elias told him not to draw attention. But this was not a battlefield. This was politics. Refusing would be seen as weakness. He stood. From a distance, he looked even smaller. Valorix walked closer, his claws clicking against the floor. "You are military?" the Vulpine said. "I can smell it on you." Not fresh blood. Old iron. His eyes narrowed. "What is your rank, Commander?" Elias replied. Valorix gave a soft laugh. "A commander already?" "Your species must hand out titles freely."
A few beings laughed along. Others stayed silent.
Valorix circled Elias slowly. "Tell me, Commander, how many battles have you fought?" The question was sharp, meant to cut. Elias did not answer immediately. His eyes drifted, just for a moment, to the far wall of the hall. He saw nothing there, but his mind filled the space with other images: burning streets, broken sky, screams that never fully faded. He pushed them down. 28, he said calmly. The word echoed. At first, there was laughter. Not loud. Not joyful. More like disbelief. A few species clicked their tongues. Others whispered. 28 sounded impressive for a human, but impossible to verify. It sounded like exaggeration. Then the laughter began to die. An elder from the Threxian Concord froze mid-gesture. A scaled admiral from the southern arm bent his head, suddenly, very still. A machine mind paused its internal calculations. The hall grew quiet. Valerix's smile faltered, just a little. 28, the Vulpine repeated, slowly. Battles? Yes, Elias said. Valerix let out a short laugh. You must define your words carefully, human. Among my people, a battle is a campaign, sometimes lasting decades. Elias met his gaze. Among mine, a battle is a place where people try to kill you until one side cannot continue. Silence deepened. Valerix straightened. Then allow me to clarify. His tails swayed behind him. How many wars? Elias did not need to think. 5. This time, no one laughed. The Vulpine searched Elias's face for pride. He found none. Only tired, calm. Interesting, Valerix said. You do not look old enough. I am 43, Elias replied. Several species reacted at once. Gasps, hisses, shocked murmurs. For many in the hall, 43 years was childhood. For others, it was barely a training cycle. Valerix's ears twitched again. 5 wars, he said, before reaching middle age. Yes, and 28 battles within them. Yes. Valerix turned away slightly, addressing the hall.
It seems humans are enthusiastic. Elias spoke again, his voice steady.
No, we are persistent.
Valerix turned back sharply. Explain. Elias hesitated. He had not planned to speak more. But the eyes in the hall were on him now, not mocking, watching. We did not choose most of our wars, he said. Some came to us. Some grew out of fear. Some started because we failed to understand each other. And the battles? Valerix asked. Elias swallowed. They came because stopping meant losing everything. The hall remained silent. Valerix studied him carefully now. You speak as if survival is your only doctrine. For a long time, Elias said, it was. One of the elder species finally spoke. A tall being of light and crystal. Commander Rowan, it said, its voice layered and slow. Your records, are they verified? Elias nodded. Submitted before arrival. The being turned inward, consulting data streams. Others followed. Information moved quickly among the older races. Valerix waited. His confidence was slipping, but pride held him upright.
The Crystal Elder spoke again.
Records confirmed multiple high-casualty engagements, several classified as extinction risk events. A ripple passed through the hall. Valerix felt it. The shift. The mood was no longer amused curiosity. It was caution. He forced a laugh. Records can be interpreted. Elias looked at him. So can scars. Valerix bristled. You imply... I imply nothing, Elias said. I answered your question. For a moment, it seemed Valerix might lash out. His claws flexed. His tail snapped once against the floor. Then he controlled himself. Violence here would end his career. He leaned close to Elias, lowering his voice. You should be proud, he said. Experience brings honor. Elias shook his head slightly. Experience brings memory. Valerix pulled back, confused. The human diplomat finally spoke, trying to ease the tension. Commander Rowan is not here to boast. Humanity seeks cooperation. Valerix waved him off. His eyes stayed on Elias.
Tell me something, Commander.
Of your 28 battles, how many did you win? Elias answered without hesitation. All of the ones that mattered?
That answer hit harder than any number. The hall did not freeze because of pride. It froze because understanding began to spread. Humans did not measure victory the same way. They did not fight to conquer. They fought to endure. And when survival was the goal, they did not stop easily. Valeric stepped back. His earlier arrogance cracked, but not gone. Then, perhaps, he said carefully, your species has more to offer than expected. Elias nodded once. Perhaps. The assembly moderator signaled for a pause. Discussions were postponed. Delegates whispered urgently among themselves. Elias sat back down. His heart was steady. His hands did not shake, but inside, old echoes stirred. 28 places. 28 moments where he had wondered if the next breath would be his last. He had not spoken of them for praise. He had spoken because the question was asked. And somewhere in the vast hall, the galaxy had just realized that humans were not new to war. They were simply very, very practiced at surviving it. The pause ordered by the assembly did not bring peace to the hall. It brought tension. Delegates gathered in tight circles, speaking in low voices. Some used private data links. Others relied on body language, ears angled back, frills dimmed, wings pulled close. The earlier laughter was gone, replaced by careful glances toward the human section. Elias Rowan sat still. He did not join the diplomats in discussion. He watched. He had learned long ago that after truth is spoken, silence is often more powerful than explanation. Valerics of the Crimson Den stood apart from his own people. The Vulpine warlord's posture was rigid. His tails no longer swayed with confidence. They were still, bound tight behind him. His mind replayed the words again and again. 28. The number bothered him more than he wanted to admit. Among the Vulpine, war was ritual.
Battles were announced. Enemies were known.
Losses were counted and honored, but rarely desperate. Even defeat was wrapped in ceremony. But extinction risk events? Varix's ears twitched as he accessed the public records again. This time, more carefully. The human's file was not impressive at first glance. No long lifespan. No genetic enhancements. No natural weapons. But the list beneath his name told a different story. Urban collapses. Planetary evacuations under fire. Defensive actions labeled unsuccessful that still allowed civilian survival. Last stands. Too many last stands. Valix felt something unfamiliar creep into his chest. Unease. Across the hall, Elias sensed the shift without looking. He could feel when a room changed. He had survived too many briefings where one wrong tone meant death for someone later. The assembly moderator raised its many jointed arms, signaling the end of the pause. Delegates returned to their positions, slower now, more deliberate. Proceed, the moderator said. The Crystal Elder spoke first. In light of verified records, the Assembly must reconsider the classification of humanity's military experience. A murmur rippled outward. Valeric stepped forward again, but this time he chose his words carefully. Experience alone does not define strength, he said. Endurance is admirable, but endurance does not win wars. Several species nodded. Elias did not move. The Elder turned slightly toward him. Commander Rowan, would you respond? Elias stood once more. He felt the familiar weight settle on his shoulders, not armor. Responsibility. Endurance does not win wars, he agreed. It prevents defeat. Valerix narrowed his eyes. A subtle difference, a critical one, Elias replied. The Vulpine crossed his arms.
Your battles, were they fought against equal foes? Elias thought of enemies that outnumbered them 10-1, of skies filled with fire.
Of choices where there were no good outcomes.
Yes,
he said. Balix's lips curled. Then why does your species still exist? The question was meant as an insult. It landed as curiosity. Elias answered honestly. Because we adapt faster than we break. That earned a reaction. Some delegates leaned forward. Others exchanged looks. Valorx gestured sharply. Explain. Elias took a breath. Humans fail often. We lose ground. We lose people. But we learn. We change tactics in the middle of collapse. We cooperate when fear says we should run. He paused, then added quietly, We do not wait for perfect conditions. The hall absorbed this. The Vulpines scoffed. Bold words. Yet your technology is behind.
Your fleets are smaller. Yes, Elias said.
They were. Vyrix's ears lifted.
What? Elias met his gaze. We improve under pressure. A mechanical delegate spoke up, its voice precise. Clarification required? Improvement rate exceeds baseline predictions? Yes, Elias said. In our early wars, we lost entire fleets. In later ones, we lost cities. In the last, we lost less. Less. That word carried weight. Varix felt irritation flare again. So you claim superiority through suffering? No, Elias replied. We claim awareness. The Vulpine laughed sharply. Awareness does not stop a plasma lance. Elias's eyes darkened slightly. No, but knowing where it will strike does. The tension spiked. The moderator shifted. This discussion risks escalation. Apologies, my interest is academic. Elias said nothing. Then, something unexpected happened. A delegate from a mid-tier species stood. They were tall, insect-like, their exoskeletons scarred and dull.
The human speaks truth, the delegate said.
We fought alongside them once, briefly.
Eyes turned. They arrived late. Their ships were damaged.
Their soldiers exhausted. We expected them to retreat. The delegate's mandibles clicked. They did not. Elias recognized the species, a minor alliance partner from a forgotten conflict. They held a line that should not have held, the delegate continued. They improvised weapons, shared rations, pulled our wounded to safety. The hall listened. They did not win the war, the delegate said, but without them, we would not be here. Silence followed. Varix felt something shift again, deeper this time. Not fear. Respect. Unwanted. And heavy. He looked at Elias, really looked at him. Not as a small, soft creature, but as something forged. You do not celebrate your victories, Valric said slowly. Elias shook his head. We mourn our losses. Yet you keep fighting. Yes. Why? His mind drifted, uninvited, to faces. Names. A child's drawing taped inside a helmet. A friend who joked too much and bled too fast. Because stopping does not bring them back, he said. And giving up would waste what they bought us. The words were simple. They hit hard. Varix felt his arrogance crumble another piece. He had fought for honor, for territory, for glory. This human had fought for time. The assembly shifted its focus. Questions followed, not mocking now, but serious. How did humans coordinate under chaos? How did they recover populations so quickly? How did they maintain morale? Elias answered, when asked, briefly, clearly. He did not embellish. We rotate soldiers often, he said.
We invest in logistics. We teach adaptability, not obedience alone.
One elder asked, And fear? Elias nodded. We fear a lot. That surprised them.
But we move anyway. The session stretched longer than planned. Data was exchanged.
Assumptions revised. Veilrix remained quiet for much of it. When he finally spoke again, his voice was different, less sharp. "Commander Rowan," he said, "among my people, strength is proven by domination." Elias looked at him. "Among mine, strength is proven by protection." Veilrix considered that. The moderator signaled the close of the session. "This assembly will reconvene after review." Delegates began to disperse. As Elias turned to leave, Veilrix stepped into his path. Up close, the Vulpine was taller, broader. A single swipe could end him. Yet Veilrix did not raise his claws. "You have unsettled this hall," Veilrix said quietly. Elias met his eyes. "That was not my goal."
But you did it anyway. Yes. Veilrix studied him for a long moment.
"If humans are pushed, what happens?" Elias answered without threat. "We endure, and those who stand with us usually do too." Veilrix stepped aside. Elias walked past, returning to his seat, then toward the exit with his delegation. Behind him, the hall buzzed with a new kind of energy. Not fear, calculation. Humanity had entered the galaxy as a question. Now, it was becoming an answer. And somewhere deep in Veilrix's thoughts, a realization took root, sharp and uncomfortable. The human had not frozen the hall by boasting. He had done it by revealing a truth no one liked to face. War had tried to erase humanity many times, and failed. Again and again and again. The assembly did not reconvene immediately. Instead, the galaxy reacted. Within hours of the session's end, sealed channels lit up across the station. Military analysts, elder councils, and intelligence collectives requested access to human data. Old war records were pulled from archives that had not been opened in centuries. Battles once considered minor suddenly looked different when viewed through a human lens. Elias Rowan was unaware of most of it. He sat in a quiet transit chamber assigned to the human delegation, staring at a wall that displayed nothing. The room was clean, neutral, designed to calm. It failed. His body was at rest, but his mind was moving fast. The Vulpine's questions echoed in his head. The looks in the hall. The sudden shift from mockery to caution. He had seen that look before. Right before alliances changed, right before lines were redrawn. One of the diplomats, Mara Chen, entered the chamber. She closed the door behind her. "You've started something?" she said. Elias did not look up. "I answered a question." "You answered it honestly," she replied. "That's worse." She sat across from him.
Requests are coming in. Observers want interviews.
Joint exercise proposals. Quiet ones. DU. Elias exhaled slowly. They didn't see us as a threat before. They do now, Mara said, or at least as something unpredictable.
Elias nodded. That's fair. Elsewhere on the station, Veilrix of the Crimson Den stood before his own advisors.
The chamber was darker than the assembly hall, lit by red symbols that marked lineage and conquest. His people waited for anger. They did not get it. Instead, Veilrix dismissed most of them. Only his oldest strategist remained, a silver-furred Vulpine whose scars predated Veilrix's birth. You hesitate, the strategist said. Veilrix flicked a tail. I reassess. The humans unsettled you. They unsettled the galaxy, Veilrix snapped. Then he paused. But yes. Me as well. The strategist tilted his head.
They are small, short-lived.
And still alive, Veilrix said. After 5 wars, that should have erased them. Silence stretched. What do you think they will do next? The strategist asked. Veilrix answered slowly. Prepare, as they always do. That same preparation was already underway. In the human sector of the station, Engineers reviewed defensive layouts. Medics checked supply chains. Intelligence officers cross-referenced alien doctrine with human combat psychology, not because war was expected, because it was possible. Elias was summoned later that cycle, not to the assembly, but to a secure chamber beneath it. The request came from the elder races, voluntary, urgent. Mara walked beside him. They want to know how you think. Elias sighed. That's a mistake. The chamber was smaller, circular, with only a handful of representatives present. No spectators. No ceremony. The Crystal Elder spoke first. Commander Rowan, we will be direct. Elias appreciated that. Please, you have fought battles classified as extinction risk, the Elder said. Yet your species persists. Explain the cost.
Elias felt the familiar tightening in his chest.
Vibes, he said. Time.
Innocence. That is universal, another elder replied. Yes, Elias said.
But we count differently. They waited. In our wars, Elias continued, we learned early that winning fast is rare. So we learned how to lose slowly. That caught their attention. We retreat to survive, he said. We give ground to save people. We rebuild while fighting. One elder asked, does that not invite endless conflict? It does, Elias replied. Unless you make the cost too high to continue. The elders exchanged looks. Valex was present, standing near the edge of the chamber. He listened carefully. And how, he asked, do humans make that cost clear? Elias looked at him. By refusing to disappear. The answer was simple. It carried weight. The elders pressed further. They asked about morale collapse, about fear, about how humans kept fighting when logic said they should stop. Elias answered as best he could. We don't, he said at one point. Not all the time. Some break, some run.
Some give up, yet your lines hold, the Crystal Elder said.
Yes, Elias replied, because someone always stays.
He thought of names again, did not speak them. The meeting ended with no declarations, no threats, only understanding. That understanding spread fast. Within days, small incidents began to occur across the station. A Vulpine patrol clashed verbally with a human security team. No violence followed. Both sides disengaged quickly. A minor species attempted to test human reaction times with a mock drill. The humans adapted mid-scenario and reversed control of the exercise. Quiet observations turned into data points. Then came the first real test. An emergency signal erupted from the outer docking ring. A cargo habitat suffered structural failure, atmosphere venting. Mixed species civilians trapped. Panic followed. Station security hesitated. The structure was unstable. Entering risked collapse. Human response teams did not wait. Elias was already moving when the alert sounded. He did not give orders. He joined. Human soldiers sealed suits, grabbed portable barriers, and moved fast. They coordinated with station systems on the move, rerouting power, sealing secondary breaches. Valex arrived at the scene moments later with his own warriors. He expected chaos. Instead, he saw humans forming living lines, anchoring collapsing corridors with temporary supports, guiding civilians through smoke and pressure loss. One human was thrown against a wall as debris shifted. He stood up and kept moving. Valrix felt something twist inside him. This was not ritual. This was instinct. A secondary explosion rocked the habitat. Valix warriors pulled back automatically. The humans did not. They adjusted, repositioned, continued. Within minutes, the civilians were out. Casualties were minimal. Afterward, as medics worked, Varix approached Elias. You risked your own? Varix said. Elias nodded. Yes, for strangers. Yes. Valeric searched his face. Why? Elias answered simply. They were there. That night, reports circulated. The incident spread faster than any speech. Humans did not just fight wars. They ran toward disaster. The assembly reconvened the next cycle. This time, the hall was different. No laughter, no mockery. Seats were closer, attention focused. Valrix spoke again, but his tone had changed. Commander Rowan, he said. Earlier I asked how many battles you fought.
I asked the wrong question, Valrix continued. I should have asked how many you survived.
Elias did not correct him. Valrix bowed his head, a rare gesture among his people. The Crimson Den acknowledges humanity as a resilient power. The hall stirred. Others followed. Not applause, recognition. The Crystal Elder spoke last. The galaxy has long valued strength as dominance. Humans have demonstrated strength as persistence. Elias felt the weight of it settle. This was not victory. It was responsibility. As he sat back down, Elias knew one thing with certainty. The galaxy was watching now. And if war ever came again, humans would not face it alone. Not because they demanded loyalty, but because they had proven again and again that when everything breaks, they keep going. The recognition did not bring comfort. Elias Rowan felt it the moment the assembly shifted. Eyes followed him now, not with doubt, but with calculation. Humans were no longer a curiosity. They were a variable that could not be ignored. And in a galaxy shaped by power, attention was dangerous. After the assembly session ended, security around the human delegation quietly increased, not because of threats, but because of interest. Too many species wanted to observe. Too many wanted to test. Valrix understood this better than most. From a high balcony overlooking the station's inner ring, the Vulpine warlord watched human ships dock and depart. Small vessels. Efficient. No unnecessary ornamentation. They move like prey, one of his officers muttered. Quick. Alert. Valrix shook his head slowly. No, they move like survivors. The officer looked confused but said nothing. Elsewhere, deep in the station's commercial sector, something else was moving. A coalition of minor factions, species long ignored by the assembly, had been meeting in secret. They had watched the humans carefully. Not with admiration, with resentment. If humans could rise so quickly, then the balance could change, and some balances were profitable. The first sign came as a warning. A human supply convoy was delayed. No distress call. No explosion. Just silence. Elias received the report while reviewing training data with Mara.
That's unusual, Mara said. They run tight schedules. Elias frowned.
Which route? Mara checked. Outer trade corridor. Shared jurisdiction. Elias stood. Too quiet. Within hours, confirmation arrived. The convoy had been boarded. Crews detained. No fatalities. Yet, the assembly reacted slowly. Jurisdictional disputes followed. Debates over responsibility. Elias did not wait. He requested permission to retrieve the crew. The request was denied. Officially. Unofficially, no. One tried to stop him. A small human task group launched. No banners, no threats, just purpose. Valrix watched the departure. His instincts screamed that this was a mistake, not for the humans, but for whoever had touched them. The boarding location was an abandoned trade platform, drifting near a dead star. Power was low. Sensors unreliable. Human teams moved in silence. Elias led from the front. He always did. Inside the platform, the air was thin. Gravity uneven. The corridors smelled of rust and fear. They found the crew alive, restrained but unharmed. The captors were waiting. A mix of species emerged from the shadows. armed but nervous. They had expected negotiation. Fear, delay, they got none. Elias stepped forward, weapon lowered but ready.
Release them,
he said. The leader laughed.
You have no authority here, human.
Elias tilted his head. Then this won't take long.
What followed was fast, precise. Human teams adapted instantly to unfamiliar weapons, shifting positions, using the environment. They disabled rather than destroyed, controlled rather than crushed. Within minutes, it was over. The captors were restrained, the crew freed. No executions, no speeches, just retrieval. Word spread quickly. Humans did not escalate.
They resolved. The assembly could no longer ignore the implications.
Emergency sessions were called, not public ones. Valrix was invited. So was Elias. This chamber was different. Smaller, heavier. Decisions lived here. A representative from one of the major powers spoke bluntly. Humanity's response was efficient, but unilateral. Elias nodded. Yes, you risked conflict. Yes. Why not wait for approval? Elias met their gaze. Because my people were already waiting. Silence followed. Valrix broke it. You feared weakness would invite more attacks.
Yes, Elias said.
And hesitation would teach the wrong lesson. The elders debated. Some argued humans were too reactive. Too dangerous. Others argued the opposite, that humans stabilize chaos through decisive action. Then a new report arrived. Another incident, this time larger. A border station, lightly defended, had gone dark. Multiple species affected. Civilian population high. Unknown aggressors. The chamber went quiet. Valrix felt a familiar tightening. This was not coincidence.
The elder spoke slowly. Commander Rowan, your assessment.
Elias closed his eyes for a brief second. He saw the pattern.
This is testing, he said, not conquest.
Someone wants to see how fast we respond, how far we'll go.
And if we do nothing?
An elder asked. Elias opened his eyes.
Then they'll go further. The decision was made quickly. A joint response force would deploy.
Humans would lead. For the first time, no one objected. The task force assembled near the border station's last known position. Ships from a dozen species formed a loose formation. Different designs. Different doctrines. Elias stood in the command center of the lead vessel, surrounded by unfamiliar officers.
Rules are simple, he said. Protect civilians.
Contain threats. Adapt if plans fail. Some officers bristled at the lack of detail. Valrix, present as an observer, watched closely. The station came into view. A damaged structure drifting, sections breached. No power. No response. Sensors detected movement inside. Elias did not hesitate. Teams deployed. Inside, chaos ruled. The aggressors were organized, but ruthless. They used civilians as cover. Traps were everywhere. Alien forces hesitated. Humans did not. They moved in layered teams. One group advanced. Another evacuated. Another sealed corridors. Behind them. When plans failed, new ones formed instantly. A Vulpine unit became pinned down by crossfire. Valrix watched as human soldiers repositioned without orders, drawing fire away, creating an opening. The Vulpine unit escaped. Valrix's breath caught. This was not bravery. This was habit. The fighting was intense but controlled. When the aggressors realized they were losing, they tried to trigger a self-destruct. Elias rerouted power manually. His hands moved faster than thought. He had done this before, too many times. The station stabilized. The threat ended. Afterward, silence filled the corridors. Civilians were alive. Shaken, but alive. Losses were minimal. The joint force withdrew. Back in the assembly chamber, the mood had changed again. Not fear, respect, edged with something else. Dependence, the Crystal Elder spoke. Humanity has demonstrated leadership under pressure. Another added. And restraint. Valeric stepped forward. I once believed strength was proven by how much one could take, he said. I was wrong.
Strength is proven by what one chooses to protect. He turned toward Elias and bowed fully. A true bow.
The hall froze, not in shock this time, but in understanding. Humans were not the strongest species. They were not the oldest. But when systems failed, when plans collapsed, when fear spread faster than light, humans acted. That made them dangerous enemies and invaluable allies. Elias felt the weight settle fully now. Not pride, burden. He knew what came next. Once a species is trusted with survival, it is never allowed to rest again. As the assembly adjourned, Mara leaned toward him. You okay? Elias nodded slowly. We crossed a line. Good one or bad one? Elias looked out at the stars beyond the dome.
That depends on the next crisis. Far away, unseen, forces watched and learned. They had seen the galaxy test humanity.
And humanity respond. Next time, the test would be harsher. And the cost higher. But one truth was now impossible to deny. When everything fell apart, humans did not wait to be saved. They became the ones others waited for. The galaxy had changed. It did not announce itself with fanfare. No alarms, no speeches, no new treaties. The change was subtle, woven into every gesture, every calculation, every silent consideration. Humans were no longer the species others casually dismissed. They were a presence, a force defined not by size, speed, or technology, but by persistence, adaptability, and a will that refused to break. Elias Rowan stood on the observation deck of the human flagship, staring out at the stars. The mission was over for now, but the aftershocks were still being felt across the assembly. Ships from other species passed nearby, sometimes giving small signals of acknowledgement. Not respect, not yet, but acknowledgement. It was enough. Mara Chen approached, placing a hand lightly on a shoulder. You've done more than anyone thought possible, she said. Her voice carried both pride and concern. The galaxy is watching, and not everyone will welcome it. Elias nodded. I know. His eyes remained on the stars. But if this is what it takes to survive, then we'll endure. The human fleet prepared to return to their home system, but as they moved, reports arrived, scattered, small incidents in the outer sectors. Systems under minor governance had begun experiencing sudden attacks, unclaimed by any known faction. Signals of distress multiplied. Someone was testing boundaries again, trying to provoke humans into reacting. Valerics of the Crimson Den had already begun analyzing these events from a distance. The Vulpine had returned to his command center, his pride tempered by experience and observation. He was no longer mocking humans. Now, he was cautious, calculating. Commander Rowan, Valeric said, stepping into the room without ceremony, as unusual as it was for his kind.
Your species continues to surprise. Elias did not look at him immediately. That was never the goal. Vayrex's gaze lingered on him.
Perhaps not, but you have made clear that humans do not retreat in the face of chaos. That they will protect what must be protected, even at great risk. The galaxy is taking note. Elias finally turned, and some of it may not be friendly. Varex gave a short laugh, almost dry. Friendly or not, humans have become a variable that cannot be ignored. His eyes flicked to the maps showing recent attacks. They test your limits, yes? Elias nodded. We respond, adapt, and endure. That's all we've ever done. Veilrix studied him. He had seen many soldiers over centuries, but few had the same weight in their presence.
The human carried experience like a shield and a warning at the same time.
It is rare, Veilrix said quietly, to see one who fights so often and yet moves without arrogance. Most would boast. Most would seek glory, not you.
Elias shrugged.
I'm not fighting for glory. I'm fighting for survival.
But those who cannot fight for themselves, the Vulpine considered that in silence. And that is why humans endure where others falter.
The situation in the outer sectors escalated quickly.
Incidents increased in frequency and severity. Cargo ships went missing. Small outposts reported sabotage. An emergency session of the assembly was called, this time with humans not just invited, but central to the discussion. The chamber was tense. Every species represented there had a vested interest, and the undercurrent was clear. If humans failed here, the galaxy might descend into chaos, and those who relied on their resilience would suffer the consequences. Veilrix was present, as were leaders from dozens of other species. The room was filled with representatives, large and small, armored and fragile, all staring at the humans with a mixture of hope, fear, and respect. Elias stood, his posture calm, but his mind active. He knew the stakes. Every decision, every word, every movement would ripple across the galaxy. The Assembly Elder spoke first, their crystalline voice clear and resonant. Humanity has proven its endurance, its capacity to act decisively. And yet, the recent incidents suggest a coordinated threat. Commander Rowan, what is your recommendation?
Elias met each gaze in the room.
We cannot predict every move of those who test us, but we can respond. Quickly, precisely, protecting civilians, neutralizing threats, and preventing escalation.
Some delegates murmured.
One Vulpine elder hissed softly. Veilrix's ears twitched.
The elder asked,
And your method? Elias drew a breath. We coordinate with those willing to act alongside us. We share intelligence, adapt strategies in real time, and minimize losses wherever possible. We do not seek war.
We seek survival and stability.
The chamber fell silent, digesting the simplicity and clarity of his words. Then, reports came in from the front lines. A small human-led task force had intercepted one of the groups responsible for the outer sector attacks. The encounter was brief but decisive. The aggressors were neutralized, and no civilians were harmed. The hall reacted. No applause, no cheering, just recognition. Humans did not need accolades. Their record spoke for itself. Veilrix approached Elias afterward. You have turned what many considered weakness into strength.
Other species see it now, and some will respect it. Others will fear it. Both are dangerous.
Elias nodded. I know, but we survive.
That's the point. Veilrix's expression softened, a rare moment of openness for his kind. You are remarkable, human, not because of your weapons, your ships, or your technology, but because you do not bend when the galaxy presses against you. Elias allowed a faint smile. We learned long ago that bending only invites more pressure. Meanwhile, in the assembly chambers and across the sectors, alliances began forming quietly. Species that had previously ignored humanity now sought to understand it, to observe it, to find ways to cooperate. There were whispers of joint initiatives, shared defense strategies, and even invitations to lead humanitarian efforts across contested regions. Elias watched all this unfold with measured attention. He knew this was only the beginning. Humans had survived countless crises, but now the galaxy had taken notice, and notice always brings expectation. The Vulpine warlord remained nearby, studying him. Tell me, Commander, Veilrix said, how many more battles can your species endure before exhaustion takes its toll? Elias considered the question. Memories of past conflicts flickered through his mind. Cities burned, friends lost, planets shattered. Yet each memory was not a mark of despair, but a lesson in resilience. "We endure as long as we must," he said. "And when the time comes, we will act again. Always." Varix nodded slowly, the weight of realization heavy on him.
"Then the galaxy has underestimated you for too long." Elias's eyes scanned the stars beyond the station.
"Perhaps, but underestimating humanity has always been a mistake." The assembly continued its discussions, but the focus had shifted. Where once humans had been a novelty, now they were a benchmark. Other species measured themselves against their endurance, adaptability, and decisiveness. Humanity had rewritten the unspoken rules of the galaxy, not through conquest, not through aggression, but through survival and clarity of purpose. Back on the human flagship, Elias and Mara reviewed the recent operations, ensuring that every civilian was safe, every team accounted for, and every data point recorded. They were meticulous, but not rigid. Humanity had learned that flexibility and adaptability were the keys to survival. Valrix observed from a nearby viewing deck. Even he had begun to understand that what humans represented was more than skill in battle. They were unpredictable in ways the galaxy was only beginning to comprehend. They fought not for glory, but for something far more compelling: life, survival, and the protection of others. In the quiet moments that followed, Elias reflected on all that had happened. The question posed by Valrix in the assembly hall, how many battles had he fought, had seemed simple at the time. 28, a number meant to impress, perhaps to intimidate. But what mattered was not the number, it was the truth behind it. Every battle was a testament to endurance. Every loss a lesson in survival. Every life saved, a measure of purpose. The galaxy had seen this now. And while some would challenge humanity, others would follow. And all would be forced to acknowledge that humans were not a species to be dismissed.
Valrix approached one final time before leaving the flagship. "Commander Rowan," he said, "if the galaxy tests you again, I hope I am not on the other side." Elias met his gaze calmly. "Then you will see what happens when humans fight, not for glory, but because we must survive. And we do so without hesitation." The Vulpine inclined his head, a gesture of rare respect, and departed. Elias returned to the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly, each one a reminder of the countless worlds humanity had yet to protect, the countless crises yet to face, and the countless lessons yet to learn. He felt the familiar weight of responsibility, but also the quiet reassurance that humans were not alone in their endurance. The galaxy had seen humanity stand, and the impact would ripple outward for generations. The people who once doubted would remember. The people who once mocked would reconsider, and the people who once feared would watch carefully, knowing that humans did not merely survive, they endured, adapted, and persisted when the odds were stacked impossibly high. Elias Rowan allowed himself a moment of calm. No celebration, no applause, just the stars and the quiet understanding that humanity had earned its place. Not by conquest, not by intimidation, but by living through the battles that would have ended lesser species. And somewhere deep in the galaxy, a message was clear to all who watched. Humanity survives. Humanity endures. Humanity does not wait to be saved. It acts always. And when the next test comes, they will be ready. The galaxy had learned at last that underestimating humanity was a mistake it would never repeat. Elias turned from the stars and walked to the bridge. The fleet was ready, the civilians safe, and the human spirit intact. The next challenge would come, and humanity would meet it, as always, with resilience, courage, and the quiet, unyielding strength that had been forged through 28 battles, 5 wars, and countless moments when giving up was the easier path. But humans
did not take the easy path. They endured. They acted. They survived. And in the silent vastness of space, that was more powerful than any weapon. The galaxy would never forget. Humanity had arrived, not with a roar, but with the certainty that it would never fall.